It's okay. And what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of NASCAR Around the Tracks with the Riders. I kind of had a tongue twister there for some reason. Um, I'm not
You
where I'm.
sound like a robot.
I'm sorry. I'm not where I'm normally at, so I don't have my microphone or the greatest Wi-Fi signal either. So hopefully we do better than my normal Wi-Fi though, and I don't randomly disconnect or anything. So yeah, obviously I'm joined by Duke Ryder.
What's up, everybody?
And round of 16, it's over. But before we get into that stuff, there's some silly season stuff that I'll let you take over and start with.
Yeah, so uh, not a shocker. Kind of nothing that I would say was a shocker, but Parker Kligerman is stepping out of full time racing at the end of the year with Big Machine Racing, the 48 Xfinity car. Nick Sanchez has been tabbed to drive that car. It's not. I don't think it was on anybody's radar that Parker was going to step out. So I mean, there was really, plus he's enjoying doing TV. So I really don't think that um, anybody was majorly surprised. The fact that Nick Sanchez got the call, I don't think is a surprise either because he's been in that car a couple times last year. No, the year before last, 2 3 years ago, anyway, when they didn't have a full time driver before Parker got the ride full time. So, but Parker made the Xfinity playoffs uh, with that team, so at least they're going to go out. He's going to go out being a playoff driver. That was not as big as and surprising as some people might think. Um, let's see here. Who else has moved around? Um, just there hasn't been a whole lot of news on the truck side as far as who's going into some of these trucks that are getting emptied. Like, we know that the driver of the 19's moving up, the driver of the 2's moving up. Uh, Corey Heim, we're still kind of waiting to hear if he moves up. I'm not really sure he's going to unless he goes full time with Sam Hunt. Apparently, there's some hard feelings between Gibbs and Heim from back when Corey and Ty Gibbs were racing in the ARCA series, racing
Mm.
each other in the ARCA series. So Corey, I mean, he's even said himself, he's like, I don't think I'll ever be able to get into one of the Gibbs cars. Um, which right now Gibbs is the end all be all of Toyota in the Cup Series. So if he ever wants to race in the Cup Series, where's he going to go? Because Gibbs is affiliated, or 2311's a deep partner with Gibbs, or has a deep affiliation with Gibbs. So are they going to take a driver that Gibbs doesn't like and put in one of their cars? I mean, I don't see that happening. So where does he go outside of Sam Hunt in the Xfinity Series? Because there's no other Toyota teams in the Xfinity Series outside of Gibbs and Sam Hunt. So um, let's see. We got, like I said, I mentioned Christian X is moving up. Nick Sanchez is moving up. Who gets the 19 truck? The 91 truck is still. Are they going to run that part time again or not? Uh, Daniel Dye is moving up in the 43 truck. I see um, McAnally Racing just shutting that team down. Um, just cutting back a team instead of trying to replace him. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of what I see going on because they started that team for him, uh,
Yep.
for Daniel Dye, but he's moving up. So, uh,
Uh-oh. Internet issues, seems like. Oh boy. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe I should switch over. All right, gonna pause real quick. So gonna be some. Hold on. Technical difficulties. Yep. Recording. Sorry, technical difficulties. I just ended up switching to hotspot. So, as you were saying,
So anyway, we're just the Xfinity lineup is coming into picture with who's going to be in what Xfinity car. There's still some junior motorsports questions, maybe some of these smaller teams questions, but we've got a lot of empty trucks, uh, and we've still got a couple of our Cup cars that we don't know about. We don't know about the 15 car. We don't know about um, the third Front Row Motorsports car. We don't know about the third 2311 car. So or RFK car. Um, there's a big rumor with RFK. Um, with Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing that I think is very interesting. It's rumored that Kroger, which is on the 47 JTG Doherty car right now with Ricky Stenhouse, is moving over to RFK. And rumor has it they're going to have a full-time third team with Ryan Preece as rumored driver. And they are talking because of the money that Kroger brings in with the deal. They're talking about running a non-chartered car, third
wow.
car for Ryan Preece. We haven't seen non-charters in a while. I mean, as a matter of fact, JTG Jordy was the last team that ran a full-time non-chartered car when they ran Ryan Preece. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that happens. Um, I don't know. I guess they're waiting just to cross all their T's and dot all their I's because this rumor's been out for a while. Um, but that's good news for one of your favorite drivers.
Yeah, gives them a chance. RFK said that according to the rumor that they think Priest hasn't been able to live up to his potential, which I can agree to some extent because when he went to Stuart Haas was on the downfall. The 41 car has always kind of just been a here's some money, go drive around in circles kind of car. Never really had performance put into it. So I think it would be really good for Ryan. I think it would be a huge step for him to show what he did in modified when because he's a modified champion. So I think it's a great opportunity if this is a true rumor. That I think Keselowski and Roush Fenway are really smart to do this if they're going to.
So on that news, there's the big news, at least what I think is the big news, because you don't see it happen too often. It happened at one point in time with Jeff Burton switching over to Richard Childress in the middle of the season and taking over that 31 team. I don't remember who. I think they put Kurt. I think that was when Kurt Busch took over, or I can't remember. Well, no, I think it was Carl Edwards. Yeah, it was Carl Edwards that took over the 99. That they moved him up from the Xfinity series. I think, well, it was a Busch series back then. Put him up in that 99 car, and Jeff Burton went over to the 31 car midseason. And then the only time that I remember a team swap, and I could be wrong, but was when Elliott Sadler went to the 19 team. And as a matter of fact, you know what? That wasn't even a team swap. Because Elliott Sadler just moved over to the 19 Evernham team, and David Gilliland took over the 38 M&M's Robert Yates Racing team car. So that wasn't, like I said, that wasn't even a driver swap. There have been driver swaps, so to speak, in the past, but they've always happened at the end of the season. This one, we've got 7 races left to go, and Justin Haley is moving into the 7 Spire car, and Corey LaJoie, who we knew was leaving Spire at the end of the year, is moving over to the Rick Ware Racing car. Here's what makes that interesting, and I don't know if you've heard this. Um, Brad Keselowski, in an interview this weekend, I believe it was with Bob Pockrass, Bob asked him how he felt about Justin Haley leaving the Rick Ware team because Rick Ware is embedded into RFK in their shop and all that. And Brad had a big part in getting Justin Haley to sign with Rick Ware Racing. But in this interview, Brad Keselowski said, well, we just could not compete with Hendrick Motorsports money. Justin Haley is not Spire contracted. Justin Haley is Hendrick Motorsports contracted.
Oh.
This is where, listening to Door Bumper Clear this morning, this is where the rumor of Alex Bowman being replaced in the 48 car and Justin Haley possibly going into the 48 car and Alex Bowman going to the 7 car. This is where those rumors started from. Because Justin Haley is not Spire contracted. Justin Haley is Hendrick Motorsports contracted. What does that mean? I don't know. But they have announced that he will be running full time with the 7 team with Rodney Childers as crew chief in 2025. Nothing beyond that was announced. Alex Bowman's contract is over at the end of 2025. So maybe the rumors are true. They're just 12 months in advance.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? What do you think about that?
I would say it is a bit shocking with the switch being it's more toward the end of the season, but there's still, yeah, as you said, 7 races to go. It's interesting how the swap is happening. I think Justin Haley has a lot of potential. He's done pretty solid with the 51 car. He's even had a top 10 finish this season. So he's done well with that, and this is Rick Ware. We know Rick Ware Racing used to be way back in the back, 30 laps down, and causing some cautions, but in the past. But Haley's been complete opposite of that. When he's able to, I think.
Corey LaJoie, on the other hand,
Well,
fits right in.
Corey LaJoie, yeah. So I think it's a good break for Haley. We knew LaJoie was leaving, as you said. He's leaving Spire at the end of the season. Didn't really expect a swap, though. But Haley being on Hendrick contract, that's interesting news. I didn't know that. So the whole Bowman and Haley rumor, that makes a whole lot more sense now with that being put into place. So I think Haley's going to be pretty well, especially teaming up with Rodney. I think that would be a really good team. You got young talent and a veteran put together. So that's going to be interesting to see. But I could definitely see this being the setup to get to what you said, where Bowman switches over to the 7 car with Spire and Haley comes over to the 48 for Hendrick. Because I could see after a season with Rodney and with a decent running team, there I wouldn't say a championship or really a deep playoff team, but a good running team for the most part. That'll help set up Haley to run really well with the 48, in my opinion. So I think this is interesting play for sure. So I'm kind of excited to see how this plays out.
Well, another interesting tidbit on that with Spire Motorsports is, again, listening to Door Bumper Clear this morning, they said that Spire is in talks with Chevrolet to becoming a Tier 1 team, which, and Freddie Kraft said kind of a mini Hendrick almost, which that's a big deal to have that kind of manufacturer, to have Hendrick level manufacturer support. Because you get wind tunnel time, you get sim time, you get you get more money for engineers, you get Chevrolet, General Motors engineers, you get more resources for your team and stuff like that. So that could you take that, you take Rodney Childers, you take Justin Haley, who's a proven winner. He's won in the Cup Series for Spire Motorsports. Granted, it was a rain delay and they stayed out on pit strategy, but still, he won the race.
Yep.
But he's proven winner. He's won in the Truck Series. He's won in the Xfinity Series. Um, Probably one of the best restrictor plate, or they don't call him restrictor plate, but drafting drivers in the Xfinity Series when he was driving that 11 for Colleague Racing. So you take all those elements, combine with, and then you get Chevrolet tier one manufacturer deal, and you also get Hendrick engines and Hendrick support. All that, I could see Spire making the playoffs next year with a win, and maybe even with a win and points.
Absolutely.
Be up there in points.
100%. Especially so you talked all about Haley. We also know Michael McDowell is going to Spire. And we've seen he's also a
Yes.
proven winner. So you take all this equipment, this General Motors support with Chevrolet, going to Tier 1, having all that extra money for engineers and sim time, and then the Hendrick backup. Both of those drivers, I could 100% see getting into the playoffs on wins, on a win or points. Both would be very possible for both of these drivers. So,
Well, and you throw Carson Hosefar in there. This is his rookie year. Barring he doesn't have a sophomore slump next year, he very well could be right up there with him. I mean, he has outperformed Corey LaJoie this year by a lot in
abs-
most races. And I'm not talking one or two positions. I'm talking 10 to 15 positions ahead of Corey LaJoie.
right. Oh, absolutely. I agree. Carson's a good guy. I've met him before at Snowball Derby. Young guy, you could tell he had talent, and he was always happy to be at the racetrack. Just when I talked to him for a few minutes, I 100% agree. If he doesn't have that sophomore slump, he's going to be up there with McDowell and Haley, 100%. He's done really well for his rookie season. He's leader in rookie points. He's come pretty close. He's led laps this season. He's come close. I would say he's been possibly able to maybe pull off a rookie win, but normally strategy kind of comes into play toward the end of the races that kind of kept him from that. But he's outplayed LaJoie, as you said. So big factors. If he can take a lot of this momentum he has now and move it over to his sophomore year, he's going to be right there with McDowell and Haley up in the front. So I agree with that 100%.
So let's talk about that. Okay, um, that's three cars, and if all three of them are up in points and they're able to win a race, and then you've got Austin Dillon. Let's just say he sneaks in and gets him one where he doesn't get penalized. That and then you've got all the guys this year that won a race that they're proven race winners. I mean, I'm not the biggest Austin Cindric fan, but he's won races. I mean, he's won two races. He won Daytona, which anybody can win Daytona, but then he also went out and he won at Gateway this year. Um, you know, uh, Chase Briscoe. Okay, well that team's going away, so there's a team right there that can be replaced. Um, with because Chase is moving over to the 19 team. I still see them. I see them just. I mean, I think Chase Briscoe is going to make a lot of waves next year with that 19 team.
I
Um,
agree.
okay, Daniel Suarez, he could win races. I mean, he's proven it. Okay, but we've got people this year that didn't win races that are race winning cars. Ty Gibbs could win a race. I mean, he could pull a race. He could win a Kentucky or Kansas this weekend.
Uh,
Uh, Ross Chastain did not win a race this year. He's not won yet this year. Kyle Busch has not won this year. Okay, so you add these three guys to the mix, we could be looking at 20 winners next year for the first time in NASCAR history where we could have 20 to 21 teams that could win a race, which means you're going to have race winners not make the playoffs. And I'm not talking about race winners like Austin Dillon that gets penalized or Denny Hamlin. Of course, Denny had won multiple. But if Bristol had been the only race that Denny had won, Denny may not have made the playoffs. Uh, because, I mean, he probably would have on points, but he got a lot of points from the other races that he won. So we could be having a very, very different playoff discussion this time next year just because we've got race winning drive. And well, I know Chris Buescher's won a race this year, but he didn't make the playoffs because he won his race in the playoffs. Add him to winning. I mean, we could legitimately see 20 different winners in 2025 out of the first 26 races, which would be astronomically crazy.
Absolutely. It definitely puts a twist on things because only 16 drivers make the playoffs. Well, if you got 20 different drivers winning, we got to go to points, and points can be. I mean, it could come to one position difference to making it into the playoffs. So it puts a whole lot more of that drive and competitiveness to if I finish in front of him, that may be my playoff spot. And instead of I got to go for the win because it's like I already have I already have a win. I'm technically in, but at the same time I could be out. So if that happens, it puts a big difference on how the playoffs can play out. So I agree. The 20 different drivers next year, I could see it if we're going on this path we're going with NASCAR. And it kind of makes it more, to me, it makes it exciting. I'm already hyped up for next season with this being a big possibility. So, yeah, I really don't know what else to say.
Well, then there's the other side. We talked about Justin Haley moving to Spire Motorsports. Then there's the other side of that coin. Corey LaJoie is moving to Rick Ware Racing in what Rick Ware Racing called a tryout period, which means you're going to have to come and get in our equipment, and you're going to have to at least match what Justin's been doing in order for us to offer you a contract next year. There's some Ford drivers out there. Ford drivers. And I'm talking about Ty Majeski in the Truck Series. Riley Herbst coming out of the Xfinity Series. Rumor has it that Herbst is going to be in the third 2311 car, but is there going to be a third 2311 car? We're not sure yet because 2311 and Front Row Motorsports have not signed the charter deal yet. Are they going to run next year without charters? I mean, well, 2311 has said, because they did sign Bubba Wallace for 2 years, for a 2-year contract. They did say they were going to run regardless of whether they have the charters or not. But what happens to those charters? So Corey is in a do or die situation. He's going, and when I say do or die, I'm talking about he needs a top 15 finish in 5 of the next 7 races, I believe, to even be considered for a ride next year in any of the top 3 series, which there's not very many Xfinity rides available. Probably none. We just haven't had some announcements yet from, especially like Junior Motorsports. We know that there's some truck openings, but if you cannot perform, I just don't see him, if he does not finish in the top 15 in 5 of the next 7 or 4 of the next 7 minimum. I do not see him in any of the top 3 NASCAR series next year.
I, all I can say to that is I agree. He's gonna have to prove himself and perform just as well or better than Justin Haley, which in his case could probably be very difficult. I hate to say that, but that's how it looks to me. It's going to be difficult for him to match what Justin Haley has been doing in the 51 car.
And with the exception of Talladega, he better not wreck. I mean, he better not wreck, and he better not wreck anybody.
Yeah.
And Talladega, he better not wreck anybody. He better, if he gets caught up in somebody else's wreck, okay, but he had better not be the one to give the bump draft at the wrong time and wreck the field
Yep.
if he wants to stay in NASCAR. Because that's how thin I think his paper is right now.
I would agree 100%. So
Let's see here. I don't think there's been any other silly season news outside of the fact that Dale Jr. has said that he's most likely not going to run an Xfinity race next year unless somebody sponsors him. My question is, this is my question. All right. Uh, we know who's going to be in the 7 car next year. Justin Allgaier.
of course,
We know who's going to be in the 88 car, Connor Zillage.
of course.
We don't know the 9 car. We don't know the 8 car. We don't know the 1 car. Okay. Also, you have to understand Dale Jr. now owns the font and copyright to the DEI 8.
Yes.
The font and everything. How stupid can Budweiser be not coming back? I know that they're using their Bush sponsorship on Ross Chastain's car. How stupid would they be to not sponsor Dale Jr. in a number 8 DI throwback Budweiser car for one race in 2025? How stupid can they be not to do that? They got the perfect opportunity. I'd love to see it. I know I'm daydreaming, but I'd love to see it.
Absolutely. We know it's possible. We saw them do it with Kevin Harvick for one of his retirement races during his retirement season. They came back.
Yep.
They sponsored a race. There was even wasn't it the All-Star race when he ran the 29, or was that
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they
it's
came
all
back.
right.
They came back for that. I would agree. It would be really, really stupid not to come back, even if it's just for a race. Like, if it's the Bristol race, it'd be cool if it was Darlington because that's kind of throwback weekend. But if it's for the Bristol race that Junior normally likes to run, do the Bristol race.
He's got all. I mean, that's his favorite racetrack. He's got wins there in every series, multiple wins there in every series he's ever competed in. I mean, he ran top 10 there the other night. I mean, they finished 7th.
Yep.
And TJ Majors on Door Bumper Clear said we really weren't racing some of those guys that hard because we knew they were in championship, in championship battles and stuff like that. So, man, put him in the Xfinity race in Bristol. I mean, come on, you got the perfect opportunity to do it.
I agree 100%. Plus, I want the diecast.
Right? And on that note, Dale Jr. did say that the doors for Junior Motorsports going Cup racing are not completely closed. So there is some good news. Some good news on that front. So,
I would love to see Junior Motorsports step up into the Cup. Obviously, I think the first season or two might be a little rocky for them, but once they kind of get a schedule and get used to how the Cup kind of level of that part runs, because I know owning a business, probably a race, a racing team isn't easy when you're starting out. But Junior's proven it with his Xfinity team that it can be done. So when they step up in the Cup, I think it would be great. Let them run the 8. if nobody else is, if RCR doesn't have one in it, anybody in there, let them run the 88. I know Trackhouse has the 88 right now with SVG, but I think Trackhouse would and SVG both would say if you want it, you're more than welcome to have it for you. So I would love to see Junior step up in the Cup. I think we could see some. It opens up a couple more spots. It opens up some of these drivers coming through a less waiting time, because we've seen good drivers sitting in trucks and Xfinity both for for a few more seasons than they should have, because all the spots are filled in Cup. So I would love to see that. I know Junior's been wanting to do that for a while, so if it's possible, I really hope they're able to do that. So
Yeah, I mean uh, that's going to be really cool to see. So, all right, on to the playoffs. Let's
all
see.
right,
This round was Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Bristol. Let's start with Atlanta. Uh, I thought Atlanta was a good race. Um, but boy, did Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin step in it, in not a good way in Atlanta.
yep,
And Joey Logano went out there and hit him a single and got himself into the next round.
yep. Yeah, pretty solid round, pretty solid race, excuse me, with Atlanta. Not as good as our first Atlanta race at all, but
No,
it was kind of interesting to see two top, championship contenders, one being a former championship, wreck out, especially early in that race, because it was pretty much, there was still a good amount of racing to go. So that kind of opened up Logano to basically have almost no problems at all, and just kind of ran away with it, and got himself into the round of 12 pretty easily, which was kind of a shocker. I knew he would move on, but not on a win. So kind of interesting how that played out.
well, the thing that I didn't like about this particular Atlanta race was Austin Cindric. He got up front and basically nobody could pass him. I mean, they couldn't even get beside him to be able to give him a run. Same thing with Blaney when Blaney was leading, and then when Joey had there not been some late race restarts, Joey was pretty much running away with it. I mean, uh, it's not like it was a big time drafting type racetrack race like what we saw in the spring. So it was just one of those things when a car got up front, it seemed like he was able to manage both lanes enough to um, to keep control. I mean, it was like you couldn't get the runs to pass, which I was kind of disappointed in. Ford dominated. I mean, that race they won both stages.
Yep.
Uh, well, not Ford, Penske dominated. They won both
Oh,
stages and the race with three different drivers.
yep. Um,
All three of their drivers got stage and playoff points in that race.
yeah, Atlanta. The ending, of course, we did go. We had a lot of uh, restarts there toward the end. The ending did get a little interesting, with it being Trackhouse versus Penske. It just if you watch the race, you see Ross Chastain. He got back a little. He lost a little too much ground and wasn't able to get back up to push Suarez that one last good push, and it kind of let Penske with Logano and Blaney move forward, and Logano winning the race. So it did get interesting toward the end, but it wasn't enough to change the outcome. So I guess props to Penske, because, like you said, they dominated that race with all three of their drivers.
Which was a good thing for Blaney because going into Watkins Glen, lap one, Ryan Blaney's out of the race. I
Yep.
mean, that was that was one of the, and I've watched a lot of races at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen became my favorite road course years and years and years ago, and that is one of the craziest stupidest things I've seen happen at that track, especially on lap one. I mean, they were short track racing on a road course in lap one.
Yep. Yeah. Really don't know what was going on there.
And Blaney got the worst of it. I mean, that hurt Blaney, but that race it wasn't a it was the typical, in my opinion, typical Watkins Glen race that we saw. The really scary thing about Watkins Glen this time was when Joey swerved on Brad and caused Brad to hit Byron and put Byron in the wall, and Byron's car went up on the wall and went up on the top of Brad's car.
Yeah.
His right front tire was almost sitting in Brad's lap, literally.
Yeah. Kind of a dangerous uh, part of the race there for sure. It was good to see both their drivers were okay, especially Brad with the tire pretty much, it was right here. Thankfully the cars were built just enough where a tire can't go through the window the way it was sitting. So glad Brad's okay from that, and Byron as well. But that was different to see. That was something we haven't seen before. Um, Not that I've seen. I don't know if you've seen that in the past, possibly, but
Not not not
I
that.
I've never seen something quite like that. So good to know Brad was okay from that. That was just, yeah, that was interesting how that one played out.
And Brad never really was up front, but William was back there because of a pit call. They were running 11th. Caution comes out, 8 laps to go. They pit. They find themselves back in 26th. I don't know what's going on with this team. I'm still going to stick with them and moving on to my round of 8, but they cannot have a 3 race stint in the round of 12 that they had in the round of 16. They just, I don't know what's going on, but we gave away at least two top tens in pitting at Watkins Glen, and then just not having the car late in the race at Bristol, falling all the way back to 17th place. That was, if William Byron wants to continue on, they're going to have to fix whatever. They've been on a downhill slide since the Olympic break. So they just need to fix that. So, but Chris Buescher comes in and he's playoff spoiler. I mean, he steals one, which it didn't look like a playoff driver was going to win that anyway, because it was between Buescher and SVG on that last lap. That
Yep,
was a fun last lap to watch
it was.
between the both of them. They were beating and banging and almost spinning each other out, almost spinning themselves out.
They were going for it, and it being the last lap, understandable, of course. I don't remember seeing any hard feelings from that at the end. I don't 100% remember. I didn't watch too much in the post race show. But I mean,
Oh no,
that's
they were congratulating each other. They
I
had
was
fun with that.
I was about to say, especially knowing SVG, we've seen him. I mean, we've seen him go at it with Larson before, also in Xfinity. SVG's good at road courses. So seeing them bang, beat and bang, going back and forth, it was really, really good. I wish we got more of that, but there's some drivers out there that if you barely tap them, they cry like a little baby. No names,
And
but
that's another driver we could add to that win list. We were talking about the Cup Series next year. Throw SVG in there.
absolutely.
In that because there's Coda, there's Sonoma, there's Watkins Glen, there's Mexico, there's the Roval. And let's see, the Roval I think is the only road course in the playoffs next year because Watkins Glen moves back out. So I mean, he could have multiple wins
Yep.
going into the playoffs next year, like he does in the Xfinity Series this year. So, but But man, that was a fun race, which was a good thing. It was a good thing that Atlanta was a good race. It was a good thing that Watkins Glen was a fun race because Bristol was a stinker. It was a complete and utter letdown. This is the worst Bristol race I have seen, and I've been watching Bristol races since the late 80s, early 90s. I've even went back and watched some of the early 80s Bristol races. This Bristol race was awful.
No, I agree. I it, I mean it sucked. We had really nothing going on up front. Nothing with the lead. Now second, third, and a couple of spots back. Yeah, they were battling. I mean, they were three wide sometimes, but nobody could catch the leader. Nobody could catch Larson, and it kind of sucked. There was no tire wear like the spring race. Um, that sucked. I was hoping there would be tire wear like spring race was, because the spring race was one of the best Bristol races I have watched because of the tire wear. Um, Not really happy that the winner won the spring race, but that was just from experience. So
Well,
what happened?
technically he didn't because they screwed up and
Ah,
sent his engine to the wrong place, and they basically lost that win.
that is true. However, but still, why didn't they go? Why didn't they do exactly what they did in the spring? Why did we completely go away from that?
Well, and that's the thing that nobody can figure out what was different. The only thing that I can find out that was different was it was warmer than it was in the spring, and there were more races on the track, so there was more rubber laid down before the Cup guys got out there. It was the same tire, but they Kyle Larson set a record for the most laps led by a Hendrick Motorsports driver with 467. This is the first time that more than that many the that many laps have been led in one race since Cale Yarborough did it, I believe, in 1978 is what they were saying. Uh, but here's the part that didn't get me. Okay, or they got me. Martin Truex got stuck in the back with the speeding penalty.
yep.
Ty Gibbs got stuck in the back with the speeding penalty. Ty was able to pass a few more cars than Martin, but Ty Gibbs couldn't get around Daniel Suarez. I mean, he was behind Daniel for about 60 laps, and Daniel was multiple laps down. Um, it took even Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson had the fastest car. I'm not taking anything away from them. Had the fastest car, and he struggled passing cars that were a lap down. Lapped up to 10th, but it would take him 5 to 10 laps to get past a car.
Yep.
But a Bristol race with 10 cars on the lead lap, um, a 7-second lead for the winner. Uh, there were no. There was a couple of non-incidental incidences, you might say. No big multi-car crashes. Not that we want big multi-car crashes, but cars that are difficult to drive lead to crashes. The solution that I see everybody coming up with is horsepower. If you spin the tires when you come up off the corner, you're going to burn the tires up. With the horsepower that they have now, there's no tire spin because there's no horsepower to lay down.
Yep.
Brett Griffin made the comment on Door Bumper Clear that the Ford Mustang you can go buy at the Ford dealership has more horsepower than the Cup cars. And that is what gives us the kind of racing we saw Saturday night. No horsepower, no tire wear, because of no horsepower. Cars that are glued to the track, they're not hard to control, they're not out of control. The drivers aren't really having to wrestle with them, is what gives us those kind of races, and those kind of races are not going to bring fans to Bristol.
Right. I agree. That's the fact that you can go buy a Mustang from the dealership to have more horsepower than a cup car, a race car. Come on, NASCAR. Of course, we've been saying
right?
they need to add the horsepower back for the past few years, and you see how well they've listened to us. They actually took a step backwards from that and put the door number in the wrong spot. So we're kind of going the wrong way with that, but I don't know. I think NASCAR really needs to look more toward their hardcore fans, not their casual fans. As you've said before, I've seen you say that on Twitter quite often. Look at your hardcore fans. Look at the guys that spend multiple dollars on the merchandise, on your tickets, on you know show to watch it on TV, every Sunday, all three series, the guys that, all the fans that invest a lot of money. Not your casual fans like, oh, hey, the race is in town. Let's go see it. Look at the fans that are there almost every single weekend. But that's kind of getting off topic, so my bad. So,
Well, that's all right. But um, so with this round, there were a few drivers that were kind of shocking. Uh, Alex Bowman scored more points in this round than any other driver.
yep,
And of course, I had him moving on anyway.
I did as well.
Um, the big shockers was Chase Briscoe. Man, Chase Briscoe put 3 races together. Very impressive in all 3 races, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Yep.
Daniel Suarez went out at Atlanta with a goal in mind to get himself above the cut line because he was below the cut line.
Mm-hmm.
His goal was to get himself above the cut line to give himself a chance. Okay, then at Watkins Glen, he finished about mid pack. I think he finished 15th or 16th, which gave him enough points because at Bristol, they were junk and they were out. Um, had Martin Truex and Ty Gibbs not had the problems that they had, Daniel Suarez most likely would not have moved on, but he put enough together at Atlanta and Watkins Glen that he was able to move on. I was impressed because I didn't see it happening.
Nah, I didn't either. So they were smart. They knew where they needed to perform because they also knew where they were going to struggle, and that's what makes a team a team. You know where you need to put more effort into because you know where your weakness is because you may not be able to put that same effort there. So that was smart by the 99 team with Daniel Suarez, and I round of applause for that because it got you into the next round.
On the same note, Austin Cindric did the same thing. He went out at Atlanta. He won a stage. I believe he finished second in the other stage behind Ryan Blaney, second or third. But either which way, he racked up some stage points. And then went out. He had a decent run at Watkins Glen too. I don't remember, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember them mentioning Austin Cindric more than maybe twice during the Bristol race. I mean, I don't remember them even mentioning outside of when he was, you know, pit road situations. I don't remember them even mentioning Austin, which is good because that means he wasn't multiple laps down. Bad because he wasn't running up front, but they really didn't talk about him a whole lot. I guess because they really didn't have to because he was so high up in points because of his performance specifically at Atlanta,
Yep.
but then also backed it up at Watkins Glen.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. So yeah.
So those, I mean, Chase Briscoe with his interviews and talking about how much his win at Darlington has rallied the whole SHR team, not just the 14 team, but all 4 teams in that building. Him moving on really does not shock me. Um, Suarez and Cindric moving on really caught me off guard. But I tell you, I did not see Harrison Burton moving on. That was one of my calls that he was going to be out.
Yep.
So no big surprise there. Um, Brad Keselowski just he was nowhere to be seen in any of the three races. I mean, he was pretty much out after Atlanta. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, really, the only time we did see him was when he had a tire beside his head at Watkins Glen.
right?
That was pretty
And
much the
that's
only
not,
time.
and that doesn't help.
No, not at all. So,
Uh, Ty Gibbs, he struggled a little bit more than I thought he would, but him missing isn't a major surprise. This he's a rookie in the playoffs. Sophomore, second year Cup driver, rookie in the playoffs. So them not being able to carry that momentum, I'm not really surprised. But 0.09 miles an hour kept Martin Truex from advancing when he sped on pit road.
yeah,
Of course, he was caught up in that lap one crash at Watkins Glen. Didn't have the greatest Atlanta race. Was outside looking in coming into Bristol, and was in, scored stage points, was running up front. Last pit stop of the day, he blows it by 0.09 miles per hour.
yep. Which, I mean, I would say that was just a pressure thing. Even though it's his retirement season, he's retiring at the end of the year, being full time. He made it in the playoffs. He knew knowing Martin, he wanted to go as far as he could. Especially being the last full season. So it could have been a pressure thing. In my opinion, it was a pressure thing. Had a little too much on his mind, and maybe overthought it. And just, I mean, it happens. We see this happen with every driver. Every driver's had a speeding penalty, especially when it would, when it really hurts, when they didn't need it. So that would be my guess of what kind of happened there. He just kind of let the pressure take over a little too much, and overthought what was going on. But it sucks seeing him out, especially round of first round, because I have him going all the way round of 8. If y'all have watched our previous episode, because I figured, to me, with his experience, even though he's had a few, his last couple of years have been kind of a roller coaster, for him and the team, they've pulled through normally toward the end. So I kind of expected him to go pretty far, but it seems like pressure just kind of kept that from happening. So,
Well, and here's the positive out of this. He's got 7 races left of this year. He's never won a super speedway race. We still have Talladega coming up. There's no pressure. He does not have to go out there and race for points. He doesn't have to go out there and ride around. He can go out there and he has the team. This team can do it. And if the Toyotas line up like they have before, of course they're going to want to get one of their playoff drivers to move on. But he could also be spoiler in that, and Martin Truex could go out and win his first ever career super speedway race. No pressure. At this point, from his interview at Watkins Glen, his give a flip is busted. He's out. He said at Watkins Glen, he's like, I'm done. He could go out there at Talladega and say, I've got nothing to prove. I've got nothing to lose, and get him that first super speedway trophy, be a playoff spoiler.
yep,
Because that could cause somebody not to move to the next round because they needed that win and Truex steals it from them, and they were in, even though they still have the Roval coming up after Talladega, they could be in a situation to where if they don't win Talladega because they run bad at the Roval, they don't make it and finish second to Truex at Talladega. Um, and I'll be honest with you, if it's not one of my drivers, I'd love to see it. I just love this. I want to see Martin. I didn't get to see Harvick win in his final season. I didn't get to see Dale Jr. win in his final season. Unfortunately, due to circumstances, I did get to see Dale Earnhardt win during his final complete full season. Did get to see Tony Stewart win in his final full season. Um, but I would love to see Martin go out with a win in his final season.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
if not, if not, if not winning this time, come back for the Daytona 5. He's already announced he's coming back for the Daytona 500. 2311 is going to prepare the car. Um, Cole Pern is going to be his crew chief. If he does not win this year, I'd love to see him go out and just dominate and win the Daytona 5. I mean, I don't care if they put a car out there that is 15 miles an hour faster than the pack at the Daytona 500. Um, let him go out there. I just want to see Martin win before he walks away.
Absolutely. I agree, 100%. I would love to see that. As you said, didn't get to see Harvick do that. Didn't get to see Junior do that because Junior pretty much retired as soon as I got into NASCAR. Um, Earnhardt was before, Senior was before me though, but um, I'd love to see. I'd also love to see Truex win, and if not in this season, come back to the 500, blow him out of the water. So either way, I'm happy. I'd love to see that. So I agree.
Yeah, so this round is Kansas, Talladega, and the Charlotte Roval. You got your rundown there of who advanced.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. I know we've mentioned most of them, but go ahead and run it down.
So everyone that has advanced to round of 12, we're gonna start off with uh. Well, I'm gonna just start at the top. So we got Kyle Larson, of course, he won Bristol. Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, and then, as we've mentioned, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, and Chris Briscoe. Or Chris, not Chris, Chase Briscoe, excuse me. My bad, Chase.
Yeah, so Cindric, Suarez, and Briscoe moving on killed my bracket because I had Truex, Keselowski, and Gibbs in their place.
I also
The
had
good
them.
thing about the good thing about this though is none of them are going to affect my round of 8 because I didn't have none of them moving on to the round of 8 either.
Well,
So yeah. So who did you have
um,
moving on that didn't make it? But you mentioned Truex.
it is Trix. Trix was the only one I had moving on from round of 12 to round of 8. Yeah.
Who are you replacing him with?
All right. I'll give the kid a stinking break. Christopher Bell. He was a little quiet for round of 16, but I'm sure round of 12 he'll pop in there and he'll move on to round of 8, taking over my spot for Truex. That's who I think's gonna take over for Truex's spot that I had.
At least you're sticking with the same team and manufacturer.
Exactly. Because I already got Danny Hamlin moving on, so might as well.
I can't believe you didn't have Christopher Bell. Of course, back preseason you said Christopher Bell wasn't even going to make the playoffs. So
He proved
I don't
me
know.
he proved me very wrong with 3 wins this season. So
And if I remember correctly, I laughed at you when you said that in the preseason show.
you
So
did.
I called you crazy then too.
Yep.
So
Well,
but
I am crazy, but that's Seth's point.
so Kansas, in my opinion, and you go back and I know that closest finish in NASCAR history happened back there in the spring with Larson and Buescher, which again, look how close. Chris Buescher wins that race at Kansas, gets himself in the playoffs, and then wins Watkins Glen. He moves on to the next round. So you see how a hundredth of a second can affect your
Yep.
season.
Exactly.
It cost him that that half an inch, quarter of an inch kept him from making the round of 12 in the playoffs. But um, Kansas has typically, for the past several years, Freddie Kraft mentioned on Door Bumper Clear that they have won the past 3 fall races in the 45 car. Tyler Reddick won last year. Bubba Wallace run the year before when he took over for Kurt Busch, and then Kurt Busch won the year before that. So all 3 drivers who've driven the 45 car over the past 3 years have won the Kansas race. Kansas has been a Toyota track for the past several years. If Christopher Bell or Denny Hamlin or Tyler Reddick went out and won this weekend, it wouldn't surprise me. If Kyle Larson went out and won this weekend, it wouldn't surprise me. Um, the Fords of Blaney and, well, let's see. Outside of Chase Briscoe, it's all Penske drivers.
Penske.
Um, how are the Fords going to perform at Kansas? I don't know. Go back and you look at the spring race at Kansas. Uh, RFK was the top Ford team, period, at that time of the year. Penske was still, I mean, they were lost
Yep.
at that point of the year. So, but now they've got it put together. Can they go out and compete? Um, William Byron, like I mentioned, Alex Bowman had scored more points in the round of 16 than anybody. Um, William Byron needs to figure out what's going on with their team and get it together. Cal Larson, he won in the spring. He could win. Chase Elliott's he's won at Kansas before.
Hmm.
Um, so my only concern is how are the Ford teams going to perform? Uh, Chase Briscoe could be a spoiler here. Chase Briscoe could blow up. If for the brackets that he hasn't already blown up, Chase Briscoe could go out there and blow up everybody's bracket at Kansas and go out there and win. Um, any of these 12 drivers, I'm not going to say any of these 12 drivers can win because I do not see Alex Bowman winning. I do not see Daniel Suarez winning. Austin Cindric, not knowing how the Fords are going to perform, I can't really say anything about him. I look for the Fords to perform at Talladega. Um, I think they're looking at Talladega as their shot to put one of their drivers in or to score a lot of stage points, uh, just like they did at Atlanta. Kansas, I guess I'll stop beating around the bush, and I'm just going to say that um, I'm going to call Christopher Bell or Tyler. I'm going to pick 2 drivers for Kansas: Christopher Bell or Tyler Reddick.
No, that's
Who's your
fair.
call?
Um, as those
And
two are,
I'm I'm going off Toyota's history
that's
at that track.
I would agree with the Toyota part. And don't hate me for this, but because I can see Bell winning, but I would say Reddick or Hamlin as one of the two. As long as Hamlin doesn't pull a stunt like he did at Atlanta, he could win Kansas.
Okay.
Those are my two.
All right. Yeah. So Talladega. Talladega is the crapshoot in this. Um, I'll be honest with you. Talladega could be another Atlanta, where uh, everybody wrecks out.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Uh, and a non-playoff driver. Of course, Joey Logano did win at Atlanta, but Talladega is a totally different track. we've seen the top 20 at Talladega get caught up in a wreck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the eventual winner coming from 26th. They were 26th when the wreck happened, and they just missed it.
Yep.
Um, we've seen Talladega is a crapshoot. Um, my call for Talladega, barring anything stupid, happening, um, which as long as Corey LaJoie stays in the back, I'm kidding. Um, we saw Harrison Burton win at Daytona because of stupid stuff happening. The Fords, I believe, are going to run really strong uh, at Talladega, and barring anything stupid happening, I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney pulling off another Talladega win because he won there last year as well.
Yep.
So that's
I,
my pick for Talladega. What about you?
so as I agree with that, I think the guy that's been very very close multiple times, kind of throws a monkey wrench into the playoffs. I think Keselowski. I know he's been kind of quiet since his win, but Keselowski's always been right there at the end of Talladega. I think he can pull it off this time.
Oh wow, you picked a driver that's eliminated to
I
win
I
to
think
win at
he's
Talladega.
gonna get a little bit of payback for being eliminated so early, and take over
You think he's
Talladega.
got a chip? You think he's got a chip on his shoulder?
Oh,
Now, here's the question: do you think Justin Haley pushes him to the win? Because
that would be funny. Uh,
Justin is a superb restrictor, drafting track, a super speedway racer.
uh, Honestly, if that does happen, I wouldn't be shocked at all. So,
Wow, I can't believe you picked a non-playoff driver to which and again, we've seen this before because any crazy stuff happens at Talladega. Um Man, I really liked when Talladega was Halloween weekend around Halloween just because they called it Talladega. Um, it was always, and next year it's going to be around that time because it's in the third round of the playoffs next year. It's in the round of 8 next year. So, because some spooky stuff has happened at Talladega in some of these wrecks. So,
yeah.
um, all right, Charlotte Roval. I know I'm probably going to steal your thunder here. You may just go on and agree with me. I think Chase Elliott reestablishes his road course paralysis because it's a new configuration. And I just think that Chase is going to go out and say, "You've forgotten about me. I'm back." Uh, the year that he won at the Roval, he was on a streak of road course victories. That was the year he put the car into the fence in turn one and came back and won it. I really think Chase is gonna re-solidify his dominance at the Charlotte Roval.
Well, darn you. You did steal my thunder. But no, I agree 100%. Elliott's been pretty quiet besides Texas win this season. But he's good at the Roval. He's good at road courses. He's won road course races back to back. I mean, he's done it with the Roval. Just started with, biggest turn one, first lap, stage two. He goes straight in the first wall, and then he comes back and wins the race. And then he won the race without doing that the year following. So I agree. Elliott is the road track guy. He knows how to handle the road tracks pretty well. So I think he's gonna come back and say, "Hey, don't forget about me now, because I'm still around." So I agree with that.
So I'm sticking. with these predictions. I'm sticking with the round of 8 that I had, which means eliminated will be Cindric, Suarez, Bowman, and Briscoe. Um, so you said the only change in yours was you're going to go ahead and move Christopher Bell in,
I moved
since
Christopher Bell
Truex
in.
has been
Yep.
eliminated.
Yep.
Which puts my round of 8 as Larson, Bell, Reddick, Byron, Blaney, Hamlin, Elliott, and Logano. The only surprise that I could see coming out of this is one of those four winning at Talladega, because I don't think they got a shot at Kansas or the Roval. Because, well, I mean, Bowman's a road course racer. Chase Briscoe's a road course racer. I just think at that point in time they're going to be in a win and you're in situation, and I don't think either one of them are going to be able to handle the pressure of that situation. Outside of something crazy happening at Talladega, I think William Byron, because William has struggled. William's my concern here, because we talked about their stupid pit call at Watkins Glen, um, and then terrible race at Bristol. Had a fast car in practice. Had one of the fastest cars in practice. Had a fast car in qualifying. Had a decent car in the first and second stage. Third stage just fell apart. The other guys, the other 7 of the drivers that I have are very consistent, especially at the next 3 tracks. William is my concern, but I think he puts it together. Um, and I think he has a top 10 at Kansas. Talladega, barring a wreck, I figure he's going to have a top 15. If he has a wreck, okay, and I believe he'll get a top 10 at the Roval too, because he's a very good road course racer.
Yep.
But he's going to have a top 10 in Kansas. He's going to have a top 10 in Charlotte, and I think he's going to have a top 15 to be able to move on. Um, he's my concern. Otherwise, I'm still sticking with what I've got. But he's not as much as a concern because Chase Briscoe is going to have to outdrive him. Daniel Suarez is going to have to outdrive him. All these other guys, they're going to have to outdrive him. And that's not going to happen. It's going to take a wreck for William Byron not to move on.
Yeah, I would agree. Um, as you said, Byron has struggled, but these other drivers are just going to have to really outperform and kind of throw, one of those monkey wrenches into the playoffs to really change what I think we're currently looking at with the standings. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that pretty much covers it. We're covered for the round of 8.
Yep. So, any final sayings?
No, I am. I don't see there being, other than Talladega, I don't see there being any possible playoff spoilers for the round of 8. Which you had a good pick. I mean, Brad or Chris Buescher, either one of those could come out and be playoff spoilers at Talladega. Um, or even Truex. I talked about him. Other than that, I'm not looking. Again, Talladega is the big crapshoot in this. I don't like Talladega being in the round of 8 next year. It's too unpredictable. There's too much out of the control of the teams and the drivers. I don't think you should have a race like that being a race that picks your championship for. Um, and there's been people that have called for Daytona to be the championship race. That's stupid. You don't want a track like that. It is a track of skill. You have to be in it to, you have to be there at the end, but it's also a track of luck. Talladega, Daytona, Atlanta's kind of gotten that way. Um, Atlanta's more skill oriented. Daytona and Talladega are not. There's more luck. There's so many things that can happen there that you cannot control. Um, which is my concern. Do we need to have a track like that in the playoffs? Absolutely. Um, it needs to be in round one, in my opinion. Talladega needs, and I want Talladega to be in the playoffs. I don't want Daytona in the playoffs. I don't want Atlanta in the playoffs. Thank God neither one of them are in the playoffs next year. I don't even want Daytona to be the final race of the 26th. I want Daytona to move back to 4th of July weekend. But Talladega, and I'm almost okay with it being in the round of 12. I'd rather see it there than in the round of 8. Um, it's my crapshoot. It's my concern for this round. But at the same time, I love it because it's edge of your seat racing.
Absolutely, I agree.
So yeah, that's pretty much my final thoughts. Oh, this is so cool. Just over Twitter, just now I got a review of the William Byron 2024 Daytona 500 win. I'll tell you what, we're waiting on the autographed version, elite autographed version. They are in stock. Hendrick Motorsports has them. William Byron is waiting, or they're waiting on William to sign them before they start shipping. When they come in, I will that will be the first diecast review that I do for this channel. And I'll show you all the really cool Daytona 500 stuff. You've already seen the flag here in the background. I'll show you the other really cool Daytona 500 stuff that we've gotten to go with it. I've showed the tire, but I'll show you once I do the review of the car. I will also show you all the setup, the way I have it set up for my display for the Daytona 500. It's really cool. You're gonna like it. You're gonna love it. Everybody that has a tire from that race is going to want to do the same display that I've got because it's really cool. The only thing that I have not gotten that I don't know is if they're going to produce it or not. I would assume they would. Is the hauler, the 164 scale hauler. Right now, where in my display I have the Hendrick Motorsports 40th anniversary hauler. I hope they make the 164 hauler. I don't see why they wouldn't. They have every year in the past for the drivers. I mean, they did for Austin Cindric. They did for Denny Hamlin. They did last year. Who won it last year? Who won the 500 last year?
That's a great question. No momentum.
Wow, this is ridiculous. We don't remember who won the Daytona 500 in 23. But either which way, they made the hauler last year. So, yeah, wow.
Yeah,
That's just.
I see why we didn't remember. It was Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
That's why we did. But they still made his hauler.
Yeah.
So, I would assume they would make the William Byron hauler. That will go in the display down the road. But again, when I get that diecast, I will do a review on that. So that'll be my first diecast review for this channel. How does that sound?
Yeah, you know what? Sounds good to me. So you heard it from Duke Ryder first, y'all. Reviews are coming soon once the 2024 Daytona 500 winning diecast comes in. And then I'm sure there's a whole lot more. I know I've got quite a few I could do. Um, he has a whole lot more than me, so he can go back to 70s, 80s diecast kind of pretty much. I can't quite go back that far. But yeah, so as always, adding things to the channel, but excited to see round of 8, how it plays out. Hopefully you're excited for reviews. There's not much you can do with a metal car, but hey, they're cooler than you think. Especially when you add a bunch of the other stuff with the 500 merch thrown on top of it. So stay tuned for that. That's all I've got. I already said it. Any other final words?
Yeah, that's it. Check out all the podcasts that we listened to that we've mentioned. Check out all the guys on Twitter that we've mentioned, X before. But again, since we mentioned diecast, we will give a shout out to our favorite diecast dealer, Circle B Diecast. Go check them out. Check out their Facebook page. Check out their Twitter page. They've got live auctions. They've got a live auction page. I don't have that page address right here, but if you go check out all their social media, you will find it. They've got current cars. They've got older cars. They've got pre-owned diecast that they got on their site, on their auction site as well. Check them out. They've got pre-orders for all the new cars coming up. They've even got some 2025 pre-orders up already, which, man, that's crazy. We're starting earlier and earlier with the next year diecast pre-orders, and that's just nuts. I'm still working on getting 2024. Finally got all the 2023s in with all of the Harvick. I think the last 2023 was with it. What I was waiting on was the Harvick beer Phoenix raced version. Finally got that in last month. So, but check them out for pre-orders. Love them. Hopefully someday they will come and sponsor us, especially when we start doing reviews to help maybe give us a bigger discount. Or hey, ship me the cars. I'll review them. I'll box them up and ship them back to you. CircleB.com.
Yeah, Circle B. All links are down in the description below, so make sure you check them out. Also, make sure you check out the sponsors of the channel. So shout out to Dubby, Jitterless Energy Drink, Energy Blend, excuse me. Make sure to check them out. Also check out, as you see on my head, Rankest Rope Ranchwear. They just had a new drop a couple weeks ago. The Western, it's called Wild West, something like that kind of drop. It's Western, old school Western style and rodeo mixed together. Some really cool stuff there. And then also check out Undrdog Athletix UDX for Christian workout or sports apparel. So check them all out. All their links are also in the description below, along with what codes you can use, because there's different codes because of the way I had to do them. So make sure you check out the codes as well. I get discounted on that. I will throw in Dubby has increased the creator code discount. It is no longer 15. It is now 20%, or it may have been 10%, but it's now 20% discount. So use code SterlingRider for 20% off at checkout with Dubby. And the others are also linked in the description below. So check them out. Thank you to those three for sponsoring. Thank you, Circle B, for the awesome diecast. Thank you for all the podcasts where we get our info from, along with Twitter. So yeah, we'll see you after round of 8. Definitely going to be even different then. Hopefully we'll be in the same room.
We should be together.
Yeah.
Same room, side by side. Yeah.
And I'll have the microphone that time, so maybe we won't sound goofy, with that being the case. So yeah.
We'll look like a couple background singers using the same microphone.
It'll be fine. Yeah. All right. Well, further ado, we'll see y'all next time. So, peace out. Right on. God bless.